Hello, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and remember when this movie was coming out? I'm talking about Mowgli. This is a 2018 film that I think originally was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, and then it got pushed back, and it was supposed to come out theatrically this year by Warner Brothers until something happened. Somebody lost some faith, and Netflix came along, bought the film, and just randomly released it. And it came out a week or so ago, and I forgot all about it until earlier today. I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should watch that. I'm getting closer to the end of the year and compiling my list for my best of and worst of the year. So this movie was next up, and the plot of Mowgli is fairly obvious and simple because it's pretty much the same story that not only did you get in the animated Disney film way back when, but 2 years ago when Disney remade the movie in live action CGI form, they got the same story there. So just 2 years after that, we're doing the story again. And look, I'm not saying I hated this movie or that this is going to be on my worst of list, because it won't. It won't. If I did a most forgettable type films, if I did a movies that probably shouldn't have been made or happened this year, maybe this would be on the list. Honestly, I want to give it some credit. I do. I appreciate the fact that Andy Serkis, who directed this movie, who was behind a lot of the performance capture and the high-level technology of CGI that had to go into making this, I appreciated that he probably read the book, grew up on the book that the Jungle Book was based on. The book is a lot darker from what I have heard, and so obviously, if you're a fan of the book and you saw the Disney films, maybe you're disappointed by how light they took it, the songs and whatnot. So he wanted to make a much more serious version, and he did that. He did. But at the same time, when I stop and think about the Jon Favreau one, that was pretty dark too. That was almost able to bring in the dark elements of the original story and keep within some of the tone of the Disney film. And it provided for a lot of fun, I thought. This movie, not so much. This movie, as I was watching it, I thought to myself, wow, a lot of this story is almost beat for beat what we see and know from the Jungle Book. And I'm not even somebody who grew up on the Jungle Book. I just remember seeing the story very recently. And then the parts of the film where it deviates and does finally do something different and new, I had lost interest by then. I was kind of bored, honestly, through most of the film, which saddens me because the main kid, let's talk about Mowgli. The actor is Rohan Chand, who he's been in a couple things, and I like the actor. I do. I might even like this kid more than the kid from the last Jungle Book movie, maybe, because he was good. He had to act in front of a green screen for the majority of the film, so I can give him credit there. And I liked his look. He was a little older, he had the longer hair, he looked a lot dirtier, so there was a lot more to go on with him, how he would constantly crouch and hunch over because he was raised by wolves and animals, and they all walk like that on all fours. So I did like some of the different choices and characteristics that they gave this kid. The voice cast, there's a lot of great voice actors in the movie. Christian Bale as Bagheera, who is fine. He's there to look after the kid and does his role very well. There was a couple scenes where, because he was going for the Black Panther raspy voice, it sounded like Batman a little bit. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Shere Khan, and I know Benedict Cumberbatch is almost the go-to guy now when it comes to you want a villainous type voice, right? He did the dragon in the Hobbit movies, and I like him as a villain here. It's just sad where you're watching Shere Khan and you go, all right, yeah, he is kind of scary and imposing, and he has the one paw limp, but I couldn't get engaged into the story. There's a part where they set up Shere Khan as this big threat because he's the main villain, right? But then the story veers off and goes in such a direction to where you almost forget about Shere Khan and you lose sense of how dangerous that character was. Andy Serkis, even though he directed the movie, he also plays Baloo. And Baloo, I can talk about how, for the most part, the CGI looks pretty good. There are some parts where it doesn't look all that great. There's some parts at the beginning where it looks rough. There's other times throughout it where it just doesn't really look like the CGI is meshing well with the kid when they're face to face. But Baloo is interesting because you could tell Andy Serkis was going for a lot more emotion in these animals' faces. They almost look more humanized, which is weird, especially Baloo. More so with Baloo. His face looked off. It's like he didn't even look like a bear the way he should. And he was also scarred up, and you can tell he's been through some stuff, which I don't really mind that as much. It's just every time they did a close-up of Baloo's face, and every time I looked at him, I just thought, this looks off. And this looks quite disturbing in so many ways. Also, you have Cate Blanchett as the snake Kaa, which she was there for like one or two scenes, but honestly didn't play as much of a presence. Naomi Harris. Fredo Pinto. I remember seeing this actress like a while ago in a bunch of movies, but where has she been lately? And in this movie, she's kind of in a thankless role. Doesn't do a whole lot either. I want to like this movie more. I wanted to praise it more. I wanted to commend it on the darker stuff, but honestly, because it is on Netflix, I wouldn't recommend you show your kids this movie. It has some really intense and dark moments, but then even as an adult sitting here and watching it, I was sort of bored and I was never engaged in it. I almost feel like I needed some of the songs or some of the fun, just some of it, not 100%, but some of that funness that is definitely lacking here. I'm not going to give this a bad rating. It's ironic because it is on Netflix that I will give it a Netflix and chill.
Oh yeah.
You can have it on in the background and barely pay attention. Every once in a while look over and say, oh, that looks cool, or oh, hey, here's a little action moment. So guys, let me know in the comments below if you too have seen Mowgli. What did you think of it? Did you like it more than I did? Or do you agree that it's just meh? And you're not really surprised that Warner Brothers passed on it? Like, comment, subscribe. Later!